Hi, friends. Your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about American politics and American culture, and we're going to talk about disasters. Sometimes there are disasters that, well, actually, no. Yeah, I think this is always true. Disasters happen in slow motion. This is a saying I recently heard, and when I heard it, I was like, whoa, that's pretty brilliant, right? Disasters happen in slow motion. And I apologize. I heard this probably about 2 months ago and made a note of it back then. So it was some pundit on some podcast somewhere, and then they said specifically that, and if anybody knows the source, please let me know. But they said disasters happen in slow motion, but economics and society are our forces to stop them, right? So we can stop disasters that are coming with by changing how our society functions and changing how our economy functions, right? And I think this is very true. And you're like, well, wait a second, what about tornadoes and things like that? Even those, like we are so advanced today. Even right now, people are like, oh, hey, this state is going to have this horrible ecological disaster in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. Even the ones that sweep up on us, we still see them coming, right? Like and tornadoes, believe it or not, this is pretty wild. I didn't know this. I love the movie Twister and Twisters. But only about 80 people a year die from tornadoes. So they're really not that dramatic of a threat to us. Not very dramatic at all, really. That's a pretty small number. But these large, storms that sweep in and hit the coasts, we see those for days. Like we have a lot of time. People can evacuate if they want. And beyond that, right? Many of our disasters are in extreme slow motion. One of them right now that we have is that the human race is really on a trend down, right? Like right now, having kids is super uncool. Getting married is super uncool. And these things are just going away very, very quickly. And what's even more wild is we never ever saw what was coming and what would cause the end. Like, what is causing the end of humanity? Well, what's surprising is the development of humanity. Developing nations are nations. Developed nations. Developed nations are the ones that the birth rate goes down on. And the more advanced your culture is, the less interested in men and women are in having children together. And when men and women aren't having children together, that's it. That's all you can wrap it. You call it a wrap, folks. That's all. That's all she wrote. And what's interesting is, so like right now, we are on a massive downtrend, right? And we're really seeing a huge, and essentially if you want, every country that develops produces the same thing, a death rate that outpaces the birth rate. It's happening in every single developed country, right? And so I think it's really important for us to understand all the disasters that we're dealing with, all the disasters that have been recognized. These are all manageable. They're not sneaking up on us. We absolutely have time to fix them. And what we need to do to fix them is to agree as human beings to collaborate in a way that is cohesive and winsome, right? And then we can solve the problems that we have. Now, how do we get human beings to collaborate? That is the toughest. That is because our technology allows us to do anything. Our limitation is not what we're able to do; it's what we're willing to do. And so, the cutting edge of solving humanity's disaster problems is one thing. How do we get people to agree with each other? How do we get people to get on the same page? How do we get people to pull the same rope in the same direction, right? And that's the trick. That's what we need to master. We don't need any more computing power. We don't need any more energy. We don't need anything but a willingness to collaborate, a willingness to share, a willingness to come together, right? Which is pretty wild, right? But I think that is the crucial thing that we need to solve next. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.